stop there. Okay, so it's 6 o'clock. I'm calling the planning commission meeting to order. Everybody stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, starting with Carl. Carl Granzo, present.
Mary Gray, present.
Mark Crouch, present.
Randy Thomas, president.
Now Comm present.
All right, we're all here. And first order of business is the minutes. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Everybody had a chance to review them?
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. All right. So the next order of business is the, shall we say, reinstatement or reaffirmation of the present chair.
The phrasing in the code is annual ratification.
Annual ratification. Okay. We'll open it up for discussion. If people don't want to do it, you're free to say you don't want to do it anymore. Or if somebody says, well, probably not the right person for it, feel free to say that too. Open for discussion. Any comments?
Well, I know I've been co-chair in this chair issue, but I'm thinking of the year ahead with myself as far as being closer to the teacher after I'm here, that if I trying to take care and clean up some business down south, and it might take 3 to 4, maybe 5. I'm not sure how many issues, how long it is without me to be here, except just on Zooming.
Yeah,
it's going to be something that's going to impact my participation as that agent, that part of the mission that might be something to consider.
but do you feel that you can't fulfill the duty because you were able to last year?
I could fulfill the duty, but I would like to see if I could. I would like to vote. I'm just saying something.
Yeah, no.
Linnell would be the co-chair.
I'm good for that, if that's gonna help you.
If she's willing to do it.
You're not gonna get rid of me. It's just that it's with this time, instead of me being, like, oh God, where Randy? Oh, he's down there for, Then I could always, and listen
And
in.
fine.
That's not at all what I was thinking, but sure. No, I don't think, I was thinking you did a great job, but if you're.
Yeah.
I'm glad, and I just want to make sure that maybe there's always.
And I just wanted you to know that I thought you did a great job too.
I do too.
But if it's too much for you at this point in time and you want to give somebody else an opportunity.
I think it'd be a great idea to share the experience. I know my mouth will still be working. My personality will still be working. My input will still be working, so.
So Randy, do you want to?
I nominate Linnell as co-chair.
I second.
I guess goes to a vote. Well, we're actually in discussion right now. So,
Yeah, that was my.
So, yeah.
Technically, before you elect a new vice chair, you should ratify the current chair or decide you're not going to.
Right.
Oh,
I have no problem doing it another year. So if you guys are okay with
I'm just really.
it. Okay.
We have to make a motion for that.
I don't know if you do or not.
I make a motion that we ratify the chair as present.
I'll
I second
second
it, okay, I'll agree with it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I guess I can't really vote for this.
So we're covered.
Okay,
So now we.
so now since Randy is vacating the vice chair, and we've had discussion on this, with somebody want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we have Danielle Comstock, Commissioner, as the co-chair of the planning commission.
I second.
My second it too. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That deal. Well, thank you so much for being chairman last year.
Thank you for.
I know I missed a couple meetings and it really helped out, so. You did a good job. And welcome, Lynn.
Ah, thank you.
All right,
Big shoes to fill.
now to old business. We are going over planning commission goals. Some of the ones that we had actually talked about last meeting, which was a whole month ago, was the restructuring of ordinance 194, which is our land partition process. We're not planning on making any great changes on how land is divided up or anything like that. We're gonna pretty much leave it the same. We're just gonna make it understandable. That was one of the goals. Another was creating a guide for when people provide testimony. One of the things that we have recognized as a planning commission is when you get up there to speak, it's like, oh my God, what am I up here? What am I doing? What's necessary and what's not. So we thought we would put together some type of a pamphlet where everybody could understand. Yeah. And also, we want to get the ball rolling on a Main Street overlay, which is the business district. How should we put this in a nice way? We realize the business district is kind of lacking in coordination, unity. This basically doesn't look too attractive to the outside public. So one of the ways that the planning commission can be part of this, and note the fact that I'm saying part of it, there's only a certain portion of this effort that would be actually the planning commission would be involved in. And it's only having to do with building structures, how the buildings look, and that type of thing, where we don't delve into, any type of redevelopment projects or anything like that. We stick to to what the planning commission does. And Rob, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? And then I'll give Linnell some time to speak about
Well,
it because it's kind of her baby.
Oh, no.
As I recall, your intention was to make the business district more welcoming and interesting to tourists and visitors.
Correct.
And one way to do that is to have design standards for development in the area. It's not something that can be applied retroactively. It's something that only applies to new development or redevelopment. So it's something that goes into effect really gradually. It's not something that's imposed on existing businesses or uses.
Exactly. Would you?
No, that was well said.
Not this time?
Get that.
Okay, so we pretty much covered that. Okay.
Creating uniformity.
Okay. So those were the three that we were discussing, and then some more had come up also that would be probably some good goals too. Most of these goals you'll notice this year are of a lot shorter duration than last year. Last year's goals were really tough and really complicated. obviously was to give us a zoning code that would actually work and be functional, and it is functional. It's not how we want it to be at this point in time, but it's something that everybody can go back to, understand, and work against. Also, we did the changes in the zones to get them to where they should have been, you know, what everybody pretty much understood they would. And that also took a really long process. I think both of those projects took at least a year. And then, of course, the ADU thing had been going on for about a year off and on. So those were really, 2 years on the ADU.
2 years on both of them.
On the zone? Okay, so a long time on all those projects. Things like restructuring 194, obviously, guide to people who are going to testify at a planning commission meeting. Both of those, well, the ordinance will take a little bit of time. The guide shouldn't take too long. Strategy and needs for Main Street will be an ongoing process. One of the things that we really like to stress as a planning commission is we need to do studies and we need to actually get some data so we can work off it. I mean, I'll tell you, anybody who comes in here who has a businesses in the residential zone says, oh, there's not enough commercial property. Anybody, you know, on the commercial property who wants to have a resident turns around and says, oh, there's not enough residential property. So that's the need for data. We need to understand where we're at so we can apply it against it.
I think, yeah, did we talk about, if we needed a consultant, just the planning for that and trying to get it budgeted for the next fiscal year?
Yes.
So just have a big planning process.
Right. And that's pretty much where we're going at this point. We're not going to, I mean, it'd be nice to think that we'd be able to roll it out, but I'm not sure that we'd get there. And then here are the new ones. First one was the sign code. A lot of us realize that our present sign code is not really being used, and there's a lot of pieces lacking with it. And Rob, could you explain a little bit more about what you were thinking about with the sign code?
Well, some of the sign code is content based, and you can't legally have a sign code that requires or prohibits particular content on a sign.
Right.
It's basically, if you have to read it to find out if it's compliant, then the code's not working.
That it doesn't exist, right? It shouldn't exist.
Right.
Right. So we have to clean up that. And are you concerned, or was there some concern expressed about all the different type of sign regulations we have right now?
There are some things that are missing from the sign code, small things like, you know, how tall or how high can your signs be?
That would be a problem.
That would be a problem. Right now, it's just surface area in square feet, or there's some limits on dimensions for some signs. There's also some strange things that probably need to be reconsidered, like a literal interpretation of the current code says that you can have a 24 square foot illuminated sign on literally any building that's on your lot. So, you know, you can imagine there's one on your house and one on your garage and one on the tool shed. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So there's a lot of inconsistencies.
So some things like that need to be cleaned up.
Okay. Duration of that, how long do you think that would actually take?
But it all depends on how you decide you want to go about it.
So if we just go to the basic, taking care of the non-legal aspects of it, that could be 2 or 3 meetings.
Yeah, just making it
Versus
legally compliant wouldn't take very long. But if you're also at the same time wanting to come up with a sign code that matches the needs of the community and business interests, you might want to get some external input as
Yeah,
well from the
definitely.
community, and that would take some more time, which is
Exactly.
fine.
Yeah, that would actually extend. Okay, the next one was special events. And this was moved to where, the city would handle the permitting for the special events, bypassing the planning commission.
Yeah, the current code has the planning commission having some decision-making involvement in various parts of special event permits. And that's not really something the planning commission should be involved in. Not only is that atypical for most communities, but the commission doesn't move fast enough. Sometimes a special event planner needs a decision and on something in a week or two, especially if it's an event plan amendment or it's a rescheduling of something, and commission just can't make a turnaround that fast.
Exactly. Well, and the planning commission is for more future items. It's not necessarily something that's actually happening right now, and I can see that. When I looked at the code, there was a discussion about the timeline. Like, I thought most of it went through the city, and if it went longer than 4 days for the special event, then it went to the planning commission.
That's what it says.
I know that's in there. I think there's a few other spots where it refers to the planning commission.
Hidden in there.
I haven't reviewed it in a while, so I can't tell you off the top of my head what they are.
Okay. But that would be a worthy thing. We don't want to stifle any events and stuff like that, waiting for us to hem and haw about it for months on end, so.
With some of those events, though, I mean, the city hall would be the place where you get the events permission. I mean, for like, hey, you know.
Right, the
again,
suggestion is to have it be an administrative decision that's
Yeah.
made by the city manager or designated staff. Right.
And a set of guidelines for
Right,
that.
but it should be easy for them to do it.
Right.
We
We,
have bureaucracy.
right, but we don't want to get to the point where each city manager kind of makes up their own thing too, so.
Isn't there any permits, like you get a certain permit for this, is that an event permit? Where they come in, they just fill out the thing, I so wanna have a event on this date, and can it be cleared on this property, and but is it easy to just do that, or it can be, do they have a fee or what, and then they just pay it and it's done?
Well, some of the things you have to worry about with a public event have to do with, is it going to be a problem with traffic? Is there going to be any kind of public safety issue? Is there going to be adequate sanitary facilities if it's a large crowd? You know, all those kinds of details
So
have to get worked out too.
On a form, you know, I want to have a rock display at this thing here, and I need 2 lavatories, you know, I need space for X amount of feet and stuff, that they can block it, they can actually check it off so that they're aware of what they need to be done. So give some guidance.
That would be the best way to do it. Is you want people who are organizing an event to know what they should be doing up front.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they come in prepared, this is what I'm doing, meets all the guidelines, the city should say, yes, it meets guideline, and go.
Well, whoever's been doing the events up to now, I get kudos. I mean, those are the people we need to talk to and let them blossom out, especially during, you know, the Christmas time. I mean,
Who said no to Sherman? So. We're gonna have.
my thought exactly, that's fine. That's
the procedure that it is now.
Yeah, and I think, and you know, unless there's some major, you know, like we haven't had the you know, our annual events where at the time, the Chamber of Commerce was having that huge event that they had, was it seafood or project festival, you know, and that was a big player thing there, that incurred a lot more. I think, are these events gonna be more on a smaller basis?
Well, realize this, I don't think the planning commission has ever done anything on this.
No,
Right, I'm just saying.
You know, it's kind of like, you know, we haven't really done it before anyways,
Right, right.
period. I mean, and I'm not even talking about the current. I'm talking about the past events and stuff like that. We just want to make sure
Well, I
that
just,
it's clear.
right,
I mean, and I guess if we're really, what I saw in there about the time frame is, we'll probably want to look at that and when does a temporary event like experience 2020 become more of a kind of a permanent thing, you know, and then that's where the planning commission should be jumping in and saying, well, wait a minute, you know, that type of thing. And right now it's a 4-day thing and whether that's not, but right now we're just discussing goals, so, and the worthiness of them and that type of thing. So we don't want to get too involved in that at this point, so. All right, and the final one is food trucks. There is currently no regulation for food trucks. So it would be something that we need to have something out there. And it would be a lot more involved with design standards and that type of thing. But it will take some amount of research. So did anybody else think of any other goals at this point in time? No?
This is an agenda.
We do have a tendency to fulfill our quotas, yes. So we're talking about 6 goals here. Does that sound like something reasonable that we can accomplish this year?
I think the goal
Is
is,
it doable?
well, you don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to decide you're going to complete all 6 of those. You might set some incremental progress on them as your goal for the year.
Correct. For example, the Main Street overlay might go on to the next year type of thing. But, you know, I think what's laid out here is not too excessive for us. I think this is an actual realizing that things like the Main Street overlay and the restructuring of 194 would probably fall into that category too, something that's gonna, you know, maybe play out a little bit longer than the other ones. So my personal feeling is I'm good with all these. I think this is a really good set of goals for this year. I mean, I don't know how everybody else feels. What do you think, Carl?
I think it's fine.
I think it's fine, and if we complete all this, we'll pick something else to pick on. We'll look at it.
Yeah. Can't be bored now, can we?
No. No, this is a full playground.
Okay, what do you think on that?
I definitely think it's doable.
Okay, well,
I love goals. I love, like we did before, on our last year's goals, that we did achieve something. And to make these goals, like you say, at least manageable and yet doable, and have out of at least 6 of those goals, hopefully have 1 or 2 that gives us the fact of satisfaction, you know, that
Yeah.
we've got them. And I think these are all events, these goals are really pertinent to what the city and the various city organizations would like to have done as well. Because they all relate to everything that I think the people of Lakeside would want to have done.
okay, good. Now comes the fun part. What do we want to do first? What do we want to do second? Do we want to just set certain priorities? You know,
I think the restructure, myself, look at me, is the restructure of ordinance 194, and then also the needs for the Main Street overlay. Those two things are, they can actually help a lot of the other ones to come up into it.
And I would agree with you. I think the Main Street overlay really needs to start right away, because there are gonna be pieces in that process that we're gonna have to be gathering information, I would assume. And of course, the reorganizing 194 is pretty important too, because it seems to me like 50% of the hearings that we do have are partitions. So, you know, we want to make sure we're getting that correct. The other 4 goals, can we just put it as a second priority? And not actually do we're gonna do this goal, then we're gonna do this goal, then we're gonna do this goal? And we might even be able to fit one of these in there and just left and right.
Correct.
Well, if we did, it'd be the hearing guide for the applicant's testimony, so that's gonna be useful throughout all of this process. That's something that. Have we got any kind of a guideline at all, you know?
There is one that I found from the lawyers group. That was a really good guideline. So what I can do is I can develop a guide, and then everybody can look at it and see what we want to do with
I
it.
think we could knock that off,
I think that's kind of important to do right
knock
away.
it off, because that will help our meetings.
Because you're going to have hearings.
Yeah.
You're going to want to.
Yeah, well,
People.
and that's something I can do on my own, and then just bring it into the next meeting, and then everybody can look on it and start, you know, fixing it and everything like that.
I think that's a useful and helpful.
So I'll assign that as my responsibility to get it going.
Then when we revise like the sign code and special events.
Mhm.
Code and everything, that's gonna require another hearing, right? So
Right.
we're changing the ordinance,
Right.
the code, and so I think that we should do all those 3 things all at once, and take it all at once. One big hearing, one big change,
That's a good idea.
rather than having to do multiple.
And I don't think there's that massive that one that's going to take over, I think, that collection.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so this is what I've got. Number 1 priorities are restructuring ordinance 194, strategy that needs the Main Street overlay. The hearing guide will be up at the top, because when we start having hearings, we'll want to have it. But I'll go ahead and put together a document, and then everybody can look at it, so we don't, you know, we're not using a lot of planning commission time to actually write it. That sound reasonable. Then the last 3, which is sign code, special events, food trucks, we'll do that kind of as a group effort, or as grouping them all together. And go from there. As you can see, the structure this year is not as rigid as the year before, because we had to do that way. All right, so any more discussion on this?
I know this is a strategy type thing, but when we're talking about the business overlay, I think Mary should be appointed as an interface between us and business.
Right. Well, one of the most important things I want to make sure it gets accomplished with the business overlay is we have all the stakeholders. Obviously, the business association would be one, the city, Rob anyways, and us, and then the regular community as a total, and I'll let you work out the detail when it helps. We might even want to do something. That might be probably where we want to go with that. because it's not something that, you know, the planning commission is too terribly good at, so.
That's great.
Sound like a plan, Carl? Is that what you were getting at?
Yeah, better. We're representing several businesses right here, they're here.
Yeah.
And that is,
Well, good. That's excellent. So what do you guys think about that?
I think everyone wants to be included in the decision.
there you go.
That's why they're here.
And the a workshop
workshop.
with the business
Mhm.
owners.
Yeah, well,
Participation. There's,
you know, and we probably want to do it pretty much the same way that we did with the code. Something like that, because I don't think it's,
In a much shorter time span.
yeah. Well, but then again, realize my real concern about it is we don't have any data to go too far into. You know, as far as how many of those businesses are actually being used and all that type of stuff. But hey, if the committee or the business association, you know, can work on getting that data somehow. You know, but we'll probably even want a consultant in on this one here, so it goes a lot smoother. Because this would be a big thing for the city to have a business overlay and to really kind of do some consistency on down the board. At least in my opinion.
Is it that you guys are needing an inventory of all of the commercial properties? Because we could probably make that happen before the workshop or whatever.
We haven't gone that far, but you know, things like that.
Bring the planning process along if that, we had
That would-
at least that data.
That would probably be more of the ad hoc committee's decision on, you know, that type of thing. But that's obviously, that's one of the big things right there. Is how many of these businesses in the commercial are actually businesses? How many of them are really residences? You know, how many are actually eligible? Things like that is what you typically look for in a study like that. Other things that you'd look for, which is not part of the planning commission, but how many customers are being driven to the downtown? What is distracting from the downtown? You know, what type of things are pulling customers away? And the way I look at it is because I was in business, and what type of things are pulling. Consider your downtown like a shopping mall. And what type of customers are being pulled away from that shopping mall and why? There's a lot of things to think about.
Yeah, some
I
of
do
it's
like that
what
inventory.
standards you want too. Like currently, you can have a residential unit on commercial property in association with a commercial use. But there's no standards about what that has to look like or where it is. So I don't know how much it furthers the business district if somebody has their living space on the ground floor right up against the front window versus in the back or upstairs. And so those are the kind of things that you would think about putting into your Main Street overlay as design standards. You have to think about the design standards too. And you don't need a lot of data for those. It's what works, what looks right.
Right, the downtown. Well, looks like an exciting year. Are we all okay with the goals as they are?
Yep.
Is there any action that you'd like Rob to take on this? Like, do you want to rewrite what we talked about or, you know, and present it as our goals for the year, or do we want to just leave it flexible?
That's up to you.
I have a question, of course, I'm just looking at the different things here, and forgive me if I can speak out of turn or whatever, you just controlled me there, but like the information concerning like food trucks, for instance, I know we're looking at different things. And I'd like to see how that works, like the rest of the people in town, like, you know, the consequences of what we do and the benefits of what we do. So I mean, it's long as it's within the zoning or the ordinances that we as a commission have a little power over it.
So you're saying get more community input?
I do, yeah. Yeah. I want them to. Again, this commission works at the request of the citizen of our city, and we don't want to come across any way other than that, you know, and I think that helps make decisions and validates the ordinances that we have, as long as the ordinances are followed and we can work within that frame, isn't that how it works?
Exactly. Well, I mean, the whole point behind the planning commission is fixing involvement.
Yeah.
Just to reiterate, I think
Exactly.
we've created an environment that's, at least we hopefully created an environment that's not all
No, it's not true.
stressful,
You're right.
that you come here and stuff like that. And that brings up another thing is how are we gonna get the communication out there about when we do have workshops? Because that's one of the biggest things is I don't know that everybody knows when we have workshops. I mean, I think the only person who might know is Shirley. Shirley's on top
I
of
think
the
Shirley
ball,
has,
right?
Shirley has connections with everything. that she could
She's
bring.
good at getting it out there too.
Yeah, so I don't, that's,
But we want to make sure that all the citizens know about it,
yes,
you know.
how do we post it, or, I mean, we could, I know, McKay's and,
Yeah, we'll probably need to get more stuff up on the website about this workshop is coming up and that type of thing. It is always posted on McKay's. It's always, Rob does a very good job of meeting the deadlines. I don't think you've ever missed one, have you? To get out the communication.
I don't think so.
I don't think you have. You know, at least in advance, but the problem is where would somebody who knows nothing about the city, doesn't really care about the city, be able to access this information? And oh, it might be important to them. You know, and that's the thing is, you gotta realize most citizens, you know, it's not their job to worry about what's going on with the city. You know, they're here to enjoy the rest of their lives and that type of thing, so. But there's always a topic that will definitely
bring their attention.
bring their attention, and they might have the expertise to.
Well, if you know enough, like in the previous month, one of the places would be the Lakeside Tony. I would guess that more people would see it there than they'd see it on the case. Because the case, first of all, passes it out, but it also comes to you by email. I get it anyways. I imagine most other people do too.
That would be good.
Well,
And
social
and
media is the,
they have other things posted, you know, they have the singers that have posted, they have the lunches posted and all that. There's no reason why they can't post
How
our
often,
stuff
how often does Lakeside come out?
once a month. First
Well,
one.
they also have those,
Good.
like what's happening in Lakeside,
what's up with the side for
What's
the
up
betterment of
Lakeside?
Lakeside.
right,
Right.
every
And that-
little,
That
you know.
is much greater than someone stopping in the caves and trying to do that because some people stop reading those. So.
Yeah. Well, that's good, but I want to keep it to one lines, no comments. And maybe draw them to the website, because you can't really.
No comments, this is Lakeside.
Well. Things get blown out of proportion, and I have no problem with people putting in 50 comments, 100 comments, whatever, providing that they show up here when we actually have a workshop and have some, you know.
I'll just get a
input,
leader.
you know. Because if it's in the, you know,
Just
the
put,
world that we're not actually seeing it, it doesn't do us a lot of good. So that's why, and I see a lot of times when things are put out that, the meaning gets twisted.
they just put on there, all comments reserved for the meeting. Show up.
Or simply reference them, this is what we're gonna have for our workshop. And leave it at that. And whoever posted. So. That's no comment. let everybody else comment about it, but as a planning commissioner, you don't want to say
I
anything.
can turn off comments too.
Yeah, well, you can leave the comments on. I'm just joking about that, but I'm just saying as a planning commissioner, I don't think we should be talking about that on those type of sites.
We can't
Have
make
them-
comments.
You can if you want. I don't think you should. I think you should do it when they're here.
Right.
Talking about it, because then you're only talking to a certain group of people. And in here, anybody can walk in the door here, you know, and you can't walk in the door in every other place, so. That's my thoughts on it. All right.
Like invitation only, not invitation, make it that sound like it's an invitation.
Right, and that's what it'd be.
Yeah.
Hey, we're covering this week.
Yep.
Or this month, okay. Lakeside, we can go into a little bit more detail on it. You know, saying, we're gonna have a workshop on this and have a little bit of background. Okay, good idea. All right, so those are going to be our official 6 goals for the year. Of course, it doesn't mean that, you know, we always respect anything that comes from the council, or there's an application quiet process for citizens that they can go through to work on some ordinances and that type of thing. So it's not like these are the only things we're gonna do. Yeah. And of course, hearing and that type of stuff seems to take a lot of time. Good deal. Any further discussion on refinement of commission goals? No? Okay, no items not on the agenda.
There's one.
Oh, there is?
Yeah,
I
that's
should always ask you about.
that's this extra piece of paper I handed you with some weird excerpts from state law. So I wanted to clean up something I told you last month, which turns out is wrong. Last month we were discussing what you could and couldn't do with applications for hearings that were incomplete. So what happens when somebody applies for a hearing and they don't have all the T's crossed and I's dotted, the information's just not there. I send them a letter that says, here's what we need for the planning commissioners to be able to decide. They can either provide the information or they can send us back some kind of written notice that says, I'm not giving you the rest of it. You have what you're going to get. And then we have to pretend that it's complete and move forward. And I said that the section of state law that covered that process didn't mention anything about partitions and subdivisions. So I thought that you might be able to require a complete application before a hearing for those. And turns out I was wrong. The section of state law that has that information gathering process refers to permits, limited land use decisions, or zone changes. And there's nothing in there about splitting up land. Well, it turns out that a limited land use decision includes the tentative approval of partitions and subdivisions. But
That would make sense.
yeah, but not the final. So you're still going to have, we're still going to have to allow people asking for partitions and subdivisions to be able to come before you without having provided the required information to see if they meet approval criteria when the hearing happens.
But see, this is what I don't understand. They're applying for a partition, for a preliminary partition, but they don't have the information. To me, that would seem a rejection right there, because, you know, we can't make a decision on something.
Well, that is up to you.
Yeah.
As a commission, you can decide that that person hasn't demonstrated that they've met the standards for approval, so you're not going to approve it at this time.
Right.
So,
Or you can give that person a continuance to put their package together. Or you can issue a tentative approval and make demonstration of meeting the standards a condition of final approval. You have all those options.
Yeah, and a denial of a tentative partition doesn't mean they can't do it.
Right, but it's an expensive process.
It adds
For
up.
the applicants.
Yeah, the application fee is pretty steep.
So if I had only X amount of dollars, why would I come with a gun with no bullets? You know,
Yeah, I know that seems reasonable, but a lot of the people that are coming to partition their property, they own a piece of property, they're not a land professional, they don't know anything about the process. All they know is I've got a big chunk and I don't really need it. I want to cut it in half and sell half to somebody else. And so they're not really aware of all those nuances.
But then when they talk to you, they become well aware.
All I can do is share it with them.
Yeah,
You know, sometimes it doesn't register.
sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing, but I think if I'm ever gonna go around to even forking out $400, I'd wanna know, I'd wanna have all the information possible with me before I went in to plead my case, but everybody looks at it differently. And a lot of people think they don't need it. It's a shame because, you gotta follow the rules. So, basically, you're updating us that it does apply. We can't put something in there that says you have to give us everything and we don't do it.
Right.
Okay. So
The
we'll
applicant-
continue on with the process.
The applicant has a right to present to you at a hearing without having their application complete.
The applicant can give us a blank piece of paper that says Stephen Holland cutting it up.
They can do that.
Okay. Waste of money.
Yeah.
Huh? That's
I don't think
true.
there's not that many.
Well, they paid for it.
Left. Yeah, make sure they cross their R's, T's, Y's, whatever they do.
Well, Rob can only educate. I hope they listen. We can only go so far. So, public comments. A lot of people here tonight.
I just want
Anybody can talk. And just so you know, when we do, this is a regular meeting. When we do workshops, we'll be a little bit more flexible.
Shirley Woodhouse, Lakeside resident. I just want to say thank you guys so much for considering to include the business owners throughout the process on all of these really, really important issues that are at the top of almost everyone's list, probably, at least the people I hang out with, for sure. And in that, I'll be sure to help spread the word. I'll go to every single business. It really wouldn't be that much in postage to even mail something to every business owner that has a business license on file with the city, but I'll go door to door if I have to be sure the businesses are aware of workshops. And the reader board is an option. You submit whatever you're gonna post, whatever public notice, they can get that on the reader board. The Lakeside Tonian deadline is the 15th, the month prior. And so be sure to get that in. And of course, turning off commenting for public notices, it's a thing. It's whether people agree with it or not, it's a suggested thing. Mayor Jessica over the bridge calls it posting ghost. You post it and never reply back to the people that are on it. They're not gonna come to the meeting to say anything. Half the time, I think they just try to trigger folks. And with that, my understanding was that there isn't not really specific regulations regarding food trucks, but that food trucks are not an allowed business. That's kind of where
Exactly.
that's kind of where I was at with the codification. Obviously, the business part is my gig. I would love for when the workshops are started that we at least entertain the discussion about the home-based businesses and the strict restrictions on those. I would hope that everyone working together, outside professionals, the local businesses, we could come up with a code that looks more inviting to business owners to come to Lakeside. If we can do all the overlays and make all the requirements to make downtown pretty, but if no businesses want to come, because our codes are so restrictive, then that creates a problem. And of course, the sign ordinance, making it constitutional, first and foremost, would be great. And also giving in that business district better consideration for signage for the businesses. Special events also a hot topic, as we have 2 permit applications that have been pending for a few weeks. And I think it is because of the way our codes are written and the way the policies are. It's not really clearly defined, but we'd like to get planning experience. I mean, we're 5 months away from a 3-day event and we can't advertise for it or start inviting vendors or bands if we don't have city approval yet. So I'm really excited to see all these. And thank you guys for all of your time. And especially thank you for including the businesses while we go through this fun stuff.
Well, I'll just always reiterate, this is a citizens group. It's not a.
And yes, indeed, you guys are very welcoming. Everyone should feel welcome down here and safe. You're on cameras with lots of witnesses. Come on down.
Thank you, Sherman, for all of your input and the business owners. So, be very productive.
Anybody else want to make any more comments? No, all good. All right, with that, I'll call for an adjournment.
I'd like to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go for it, yeah.
The question that's just off the, who approved or who decided that that reader board goes out here in front of the city hall? It should be down on Main Street. On 8th. Where everybody can see it. This is off the way.
It was before my time here, so I can't tell you.
There were donations involved.
Well, when I was on the council a while back, we were talking about, it's always was talked about on 8th Street. All of a sudden, bam, here it is in front of City Hall.
Maybe they couldn't run the electricity out there.
Well, there's a nice big pole that's down on the corner there before we stop on Renee Gento's property. That was used by US Bank, but it was a US Bank, and that would be at the progress, it'd be a perfect spot for that. Everybody would be seeing it.
I seem to remember that I heard one of the council meetings on that. And there was like, how dare you put the sign here and take away the Boy Scout project and everything like that, so.
Well, there's electricity for that pole. You know,
Yeah. Well, that's a council thing though.
yeah, it is, but yeah, it would be good on Main Street.
That's above our level. All right.
Now you can do it.
Anything else? I just want to say, I want to thank everything that everybody's done this year or last year. I mean, it was a lot of work. It was really hard. So this year will hopefully be a lot better, and absolutely want to thank Rob and all the work he's done.
Yeah.
We could have never done it without you. I mean,
Yes, for sure.
Thanks.
the guy does know how to write and understand much better than me, that's for sure. So, yeah. So that's all I got to say. Welcome, Vice Chair. That's it. All right, 7 o'clock, adjournment.
Thank you
That
for
was
coming.
easy. That was.
Thank you, everyone.